How to hit a draw, part 2. So in the previous video, we worked on how to set up for the draw, the closed stance, closed shoulders, closed hips. And then we kind of got this feeling of our arms with the towel drill, allowing the club to go out towards the target a little bit on the way through. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna build on that idea by going over how do the hips work. So when we're using our hips, we need to understand there's basically a pie chart of the hip motions. And the pie chart is 3 hip motions that we want to use, and they're not created equally. So the first one is rotational. So rotational movement is turning my hips, basically just in a circle. Another form of the hip function is lateral motion, so a bumping of the hips. And then that final hip motion is vertical with the hips, so feeling my belt buckle moving up as much as I can. The reason why they're not all created equally is because we're trying to hit a draw. We want less rotational and we want more lateral. Okay. Most of the time when I see somebody struggling to hit a draw, they're swinging and they're going all rotational. Okay, so they're gonna hit one kind of like this, their hips are back, and then that's creating a big pull. Okay. Whenever I go all rotational, I'm pulling that club around, and this right here is not allowing me to go towards the target with my hips. Now, one of the big ideas with hitting a draw is understanding there's some separation between the hips and the shoulders. So when we're taking this club up to the top, what we're gonna notice is my hips turn. They're gonna be somewhere around 30 to 45 degrees. And then when I get to my shoulders, they're at 90 degrees. So there's this separation that we need to account for. So trying to hit a draw is allowing our shoulders enough time to catch up with the hips so that on the way down, we're using everything together. That would be what I would consider more of a diagonal hip turn. So I've got an alignment stick on the ground, kind of at a 30-degree angle. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that I've got it kind of in my feet, going through my stance line. So we've got this on the left toe, I've got the top of the alignment stick, and then on the right heel, I got the back of the alignment stick. When I take this club up to the top, what I want to do is I want to hit some balls with my hips feeling like they work along that alignment stick on the ground. So if I'm set up here, I'm going to just kind of feel this out. And you're going to notice it's a concerted effort not to turn my hips through impact. This is more of a feeling, and then kind of working off of the feeling, we start to turn a little bit more. But the idea is if I take this up, I'm trying to turn and push down this target line with my hips. So let's go right here. Now again, that's not a great finish position, but what I'm doing here is with that pie chart is I'm increasing the amount of lateral hip motion that I have. This is what's considered more of a draw hip motion. Taking it up, allowing the shoulders to come down, so now you can see my shoulders and my hips are very squared up, and then I could start to turn through. So again, slowing it down, hitting some where I'm feeling like I'm really going here. This is where a camera helps. I'm gonna exaggerate the motion, slow it down, and then look at a camera and see how well I did on that. So just hitting some balls here, boom, just like that, lining everything up, turning through, and then once I get the feeling of that, I can start to swing in more of an aggressive motion. So we're setting up. I've got that feeling up here, making sure everything's kind of closed down a little bit. And then we're starting to really get that path in to out. So that's a 10-degree club path. That is a lot to the right, but that's what we need to do in order to kind of help us with this draw. Now when we're going through the ball, again, we're gonna kind of work on this idea of I'm pointing that club more towards that target line. So one more time, up, here, this way, and through the ball. So as I'm slowing it down, we're gonna go back to our 70-30 idea. And this is just a way to help yourselves out, is always working. If you have 10 balls, you're trying to accomplish something 70% of the time to really enforce that you have a habit building. So what do we mean by 70-30? If I am struggling with a fade or an overdraw, whatever it is, I want to do 70% of my shots the other direction. So if we're struggling with a fade, we want to hit 70% of our shots that start right and hook way left of the target. So it wouldn't be uncommon for me to be in a lesson having somebody kind of in here hitting some shots that look kind of like this. So I got a big hook there, and I would want to see about 70% of my shots look like that, because it's easier to work back to what we normally do, or just pick up the tempo and the speed, and then that shot's probably pretty straight or maybe a small draw. So when you go out to the range, it's really about trying to get the majority of your shots to do the opposite of what you do on a golf course. So getting in there and seeing that big of a draw, even though our target's still the middle of the screen, is good, because we're gonna increase our club head speed, and we're gonna be able to hold that draw off a little bit longer, and then that's gonna help us hit it better. So when you go out there, give all of those things a shot, and then we should be able to see some pretty nice, high, big draws. Thank you for watching. If you would like a lesson from me, come down to Cruces Total Golf, Las Cruces, New Mexico, 170 West Picacho. If you want an online lesson, download the Skillest app, search for TJ McMullan, and we can get started.